Richard Branson's secret 1978 mission to Jamaica was far more shocking than anyone has revealed. I am exposing the true story of Frontline Records that the Virgin Empire tried to bury for decades. You must stick around until the end, because what really happened in that Kingston hotel will change everything you know about reggae history. The heat of Kingston in the late 1970s carried a pulse that could make the ground itself tremble. It wasn't just the humidity or the political tension that filled the air, it was the rhythm, the bass lines, heavy as thunder, poured from sound systems stacked in the corners of dance halls and street corners, filling the night with energy that felt both spiritual and dangerous. The world was listening to Jamaica now, and among those who heard its call was a restless, young, British visionary, Richard Branson. By that time, Branson had already built his reputation as a bold disruptor in the music industry. His Virgin Empire, which had started as a small record shop run from a church crypt, had exploded into a global label that championed misfits and rebels. His roster read like a Declaration of Independence, Mike Oldfield and 10cc. Branson's brand was rebellion, and rebellion was the lifeblood of reggae. What he heard rising from the streets of Jamaica was more than just melody. It was the heartbeat of a people speaking truth through rhythm and bass. It was everything he admired: defiance, freedom, and spirit. His fascination deepened when he saw the power reggae held over the UK's Caribbean community. When Branson signed U-Roy and released Dread in a Babylon in 1975, he expected modest success. What he got was a phenomenon. The album moved faster than anyone could have imagined. Orders flooded in, not just from London, but from Africa, where the music found unexpected spiritual kinship. In Nigeria, the demand was so overwhelming that Virgin had to charter entire airplanes filled with U-Roy's records, the kind of madness that made Branson smile. He understood immediately. Reggae was no longer local. It was universal. By 1978, he had a new idea, one that would take him beyond the comfort of London boardrooms and into the beating heart of Kingston's streets. He wanted to see the culture for himself, to feel the sound where it was born. So, true to his nature, he decided not to send scouts or agents. He would go himself. And because Branson never did anything conventionally, he gathered a team as unlikely as the mission itself. There was Johnny Rotten, punk's most infamous voice. Few knew that Rotten, born John Lydon, was a lifelong reggae lover who had grown up surrounded by Jamaican immigrants in London's gritty neighborhoods. There was also Don Letts, a dreadlocked filmmaker, DJ, and cultural bridge who had been spinning reggae in punk clubs, converting an entire generation of mohawked youth to the spiritual pulse of Jamaica. Alongside them was photographer Dennis Morris, whose lens had captured both the rebellion of punk and the dignity of Rastafari. Together, this band of outsiders set their sights on Jamaica. When their plane touched down at Norman Manley International Airport, the island was a nation on edge. The late 70s were some of the most turbulent years in Jamaica's history. Political warfare split communities. Weapon shots cracked through the night like punctuation marks in a long argument between rival factions. Curfews kept people indoors, yet music never stopped. The sound system still roared, and from that chaos came creativity that could not be contained. Branson and his crew walked into this world not as conquerors, but as curious explorers, drawn by the promise of something raw and pure. They checked into Kingston's Sheraton Hotel, a gleaming tower of modern luxury surrounded by poverty and passion. Branson, ever the extravagant adventurer, paid for an entire floor. For 3 weeks, that floor became the nerve center of one of reggae's most extraordinary recruitment missions. By day, they wandered the city, slipping into dusty studios and crowded record shops, listening, learning, absorbing. By night, the Sheraton transformed into a revolving door of hopeful artists, producers, and dreamers. Word spread quickly that a rich Englishman was in town with pockets full of money and ears, open to every sound. The first to arrive was none other than Big Youth, tall, radiant, and magnetic. He appeared by the poolside, carrying a cassette player, his dreadlocks catching the sunlight as he blasted his songs for the visitors. Branson leaned forward, intrigued, while Johnny Rotten nodded in rhythm, already hooked. When the last note faded, Branson asked the question that sealed countless reggae stories. How much for an album? Big Youth replied coolly, 20 grand. Without hesitation, Branson smiled and said, come back tomorrow for the cash. The deal was done in a heartbeat. From that moment, the Sheraton became ground zero for Kingston's most surreal audition scene. Taxi drivers, Rastas, and producers whispered the news across the city. Branson de ya de white man we love reggae. Within days, a parade of legends and hopefuls flowed through the lobby. The Heptones, the Gladiators, the Abyssinians, Prince Far One, and countless others. Each came equipped with a song, a story, or a dream. Some performed live, others carried battered cassette tapes filled with rhythm and righteousness. The money flowed freely, and the air was thick with the sacred herb smoke, laughter, and the constant pulse of bass lines. Johnny Rotten, meanwhile, roamed the streets with the ease of a native, despite his punk fame. He blended into Kingston's rhythm effortlessly. He wandered through Trenchtown and Raytown, attended sound system dances, and visited record shops where producers like Bunny Lee and Niney the Observer built the foundation of reggae's golden age. Don Letts captured everything, the streets alive with color and poverty, the tension between soldiers and citizens, and the unshakable spirit of the people who lived through it all. But it wasn't all eerie vibes. One night, Branson and his crew attended a massive dance in Trenchtown. The music blared through colossal speakers, shaking the ground as selectors dropped hit after hit. Suddenly, shots erupted not from violence, but from celebration. Local Rudeboys fired into the air every time the selector played a tune they loved. To Branson and his British team, it sounded like war. They hit the floor in excitement, convinced they had walked into a fight. Moments later, they realized they had merely witnessed a Kingston custom weapon shots, salutes for favorite records. Jamaica had baptized them in its own unpredictable way. There were other close calls too. Dennis Morris, fascinated by the contracts local artists were signing, once advised members of the Gladiators that their deal terms were unfair. A few hours later, two men appeared at his door with a quiet but firm warning. Never interfere with business again. Kingston, they learned, was not a playground for outsiders. It was a world with its own code, one that mixed loyalty, survival, and sound into something entirely unique. After 3 unforgettable weeks of scouting, laughing, and listening, Branson had assembled a formidable army of reggae talent. Frontline Records was born a label dedicated entirely to reggae and its many shades of rebellion. In less than 2 years, it released an astonishing 46 albums, featuring artists like the Twinkle Brothers, Prince Far One, Tapper Zuki, Johnny Clark, and Big Youth. Each release carried the same fearless energy that had drawn Branson to the island in the first place. But success is rarely as simple as passion. While critics praise Frontline's catalog for its authenticity and depth, mainstream audiences in America and Europe weren't ready. The raw sound of roots reggae clashed with the softer, radio-friendly vibes that Island Records had perfected through artists like Bob Marley and Third World. Frontline was too real, too ahead of its time. Sales faltered, and by 1980, the label quietly shut its doors. Yet, the flame that Branson lit didn't die. His fascination with reggae only deepened. Virgin continued to champion Caribbean voices from Linton Kwesi Johnson's revolutionary dub poetry to the smooth harmonies of Aswad. But one story stood out above all: Branson's pursuit of Peter Tosh. After Bob Marley's passing in 1981, Branson flew back to Jamaica to sign the next torchbearer of reggae's rebellious soul. Tosh, known for his fiery independence, refused to let him in. So Branson waited 2 long days outside the musician's gate, under the burning tropical sun, refusing to leave. Finally, Tosh emerged, amused by the Englishman's stubbornness. He made a single condition: Branson had to smoke a foot-long spliff with him before any business could happen. Branson accepted, And amid clouds of smoke and laughter, a deal was sealed. The partnership produced unforgettable albums like Mama Africa and Mystic Man. These songs carried reggae's conscience into a new decade. Frontline Records may have vanished from the market, but its spirit never left the story of reggae. Those 3 weeks in Kingston captured something no profit margin could measure: the collision of two worlds, the union of punk's raw rebellion and Rastafari's righteous fire. It was a cultural bridge built not from contracts or sales, but from rhythm, curiosity, and respect. The music that came out of those sessions remains timeless, a living testimony to what happens when passion ignores borders. Richard Branson's journey to Jamaica wasn't just a business trip. It was an odyssey of sound and soul. He came searching for music and found a revolution instead. He walked into a world of danger, laughter, and mysticism, and left behind a legacy that still hums in every bass line that rises from Kingston streets today. His 1978 adventure stands not merely as a chapter in Virgin's history, but as a celebration of reggae's indomitable spirit, a reminder that sometimes the most powerful deals in life are not written on paper, but in rhythm, smoke, and memory. Now you know the explosive truth behind Branson's Jamaican adventure. Tell me which part of this story shocked you the most. Let me know if you were aware of this hidden chapter in music history. Share your thoughts on whether this mission helped or exploited reggae artists in the comments. Make sure to follow for more uncovered stories about music industry secrets they never wanted you to discover.